TGH, hello. Thank you guys so much for coming out. My God, you guys have been awesome. Thanks to thanks to GrandPooBear and Red Bull for getting me out here as well. Like this has been unbelievable. I've had so much fun. This is my girlfriend Amber.
Hi, I'm Amber Cyprin.
She's going to be doing some commentary, or quote-unquote commentary. We're just going to be bantering back and forth, basically. It's not good. You know it's not going to be real comment. Come on.
Hey, I know this game well enough.
What am I naming the file?
Probably Red Bull.
Okay.
Wait, why don't... What?
Let the crowd decide.
Yeah. Oahu?
We are going to name her Oahu.
Okay.
Yes.
For the island.
Sounds good.
Can you spell that for him?
O-A-H-U.
All right.
Yeah. There we go.
Can I get a countdown?
Yes, guys. All right, we're going to do a countdown starting from 5. 5.
4, 3, 2, 1.
All right, so this is Celeste All Chapters. What All Chapters is we're going to go into each A side, which is basically what you do in any percent. You do all the A sides, and you go in and get the cassette tape and the heart inside the A side. And we need the heart to unlock Core B and Core C levels, and Core A, I guess. Core A takes 4 hearts. So yeah, this game has a lot of tech that's actually taught to you in game by some of the B sides and C sides. I'll try my best to go over it. Usually I do it before the run, but I didn't really have much time. So basically, I'm going to be using my dash and my jump a lot to both provide and conserve momentum, respectively. So this is Chapter 1.
So this game has a really wonderful story, but we're not going to see any of it, by the way.
Pretty much.
We refer to every stage as a chapter, and there are, in a normal playthrough, there's 7 of those. And they take place throughout this mountain called Celeste Mountain. And this girl, Madeline, who's our main character, decides that she wants to climb this mountain. We don't know exactly why. She just decides that's a thing she wants to do. So I relate to Madeline. I do things without knowing why I'm doing them pretty often.
Yeah, so I'm going to do some weird type movement here. Nah, that's not it. I need to try to reverse... whatever, that's fine.
So what he's trying to do is like input a very specific set of inputs, like dashes and everything, that you are told to by the birds, I believe, right?
Yes. Yeah, the birds do some sort of weird like movement there in order to sort of hint at which way to dash there. But we already know which way to dash. It's always the same every time, so...
So it is important to note that like Super Metroid is a very, very input-heavy game from earlier. That was a fantastic run, by the way.
It was.
This game is very, very also input-intensive, but has essentially no RNG.
There's actually 0 RNG, like pertaining to the speedrun itself.
Yeah, and RNG, which they explained earlier, is basically luck in the run. So there's nothing that's ever going to take him by surprise aside from his own mistakes.
Yep.
And there's going to be a lot of those.
You'll notice I'm doing a lot of returning to map and saving and quitting. Those are actually those are in-game time strats or IGT. Basically, it's not that much slower RTA, but yeah, I'll be doing mostly IGT stuff. Like it's really all in Chapter 1, basically. That was called the spike jump right there. It looked like I jumped off the spike. It's kind of a misnomer, but in reality, I actually just jumped off the wall below the spike. Yeah, so that's Chapter 1.
The chat did ask what the category was, so we just
all,
want to let
chapters.
you guys know, yes, it is all chapters.
All chapters, yes.
Yes.
Yep, so we're going to be doing the B-side now. I'm going to be doing them all in order. You don't need to. You don't actually need to do all the B-sides in order, but I'm going to for the sake of not being confusing.
So what a B-side basically is it's unlocked when you pick up the cassette tape in the A-side version of the chapter, so the chapter you normally complete. And kind of akin to the Kaizo ROM hacks of Mario, these are a lot more spikes, a lot more danger, a lot more advanced tech in some of them, and essentially almost no floor.
Yeah, I'm going to be doing a spike jump. Whoops, that's not a... There we go. Spike jump right here. Oh, not quite. Yeah, it's kind of precise here. There we go. Another one there. That one's actually easier. 1B is kind of like cramped. Honestly, it's not cramped. It's just strange. But I love the music in this level. I love the music in all B-sides, really.
Yeah, the soundtrack in this game is absolutely phenomenal. Shout out to Lena Rain and the other artists who contributed to it.
So to throw a bunch of terms at you, that was a reverse hyperdash into a corner boost, into a climb buffer to get that strat. Just to explain to you, like, I don't really have the capacity, honestly, to explain some of the tech while I'm playing. But basically, yeah, it's just I'm dashing and I'm jumping a lot to preserve the momentum from the dash. It's pretty common in a lot of 2D platformers with a dash mechanic to be able to jump and maintain that sort of momentum. There's a jump you can do here off this. There we go. Skip some of that platforming.
And if I'm not mistaken, spike jumps, you have a pixel to work with of just the ground, right?
Yeah, it's not quite pixel perfect. Most of them have like at least a couple of pixels to work with.
Okay.
There we go. That's 1B.
Also, shout-outs to the sign right behind that heart that says, "Are you beach ready?" Are you beach ready, Tej?
No, I'm not. All right, so moving on to Chapter 2. Chapter 2, right away, this mechanic right here, you actually gain your dash back on transitions, even though you don't have your dash when you transition. You just get it back on the next screen. And this heart that we're going to get right here actually requires this mechanic to be known. So there we go.
There's a question from Abutu saying,
Yo.
Can you ask TGH what TGH means?
It means whatever you want.
I like to think it means the Great Hooky Duck.
Yeah, I think that's what a lot of people have gone with nowadays.
There was a question earlier of people asking, have you ever done anything embarrassing on stream? And while TH hasn't really done anything super embarrassing on stream other than say stupid things, he also types very stupid things and is a known typoist, as I like to kind of call it. And he was trying to say something in particular, and I won't repeat it here, but he kept getting auto-corrected to hooky duck about 3 or 4 times in a row with a conversation with me, and I absolutely lost it, and a friend of ours decided that a hook-billed duck is now his mascot, so we now call him the Great Hooky Duck for TGH.
If anybody asks, it's my phone's fault, not mine.
I've seen you type things like that without your phone.
Look.
We have a question from R. Combs saying, what was the biggest night of the Great Hooky Duck's career?
I'm sorry, what was the question?
What was the greatest night of your career?
The greatest night of my career? I would say AGDQ 2017, personally. I was the finale run of AGDQ 2017. I ran Undertale.
That was a really good run.
That was just, it's an unforgettable night.
It was absolutely phenomenal. Yeah. I spent like 2 years, or like a year and a half, not remembering who he was, despite loving that run. He was in my follow list on Twitch for who knows how long, and I was just like, who's this Link to the Past runner? Who's this Celeste runner? Like, why is he in my following? Like, why did I do this? And then I ended up in one of his speedrun marathons held on his channel, which is how we met, and we were hanging out in person because we're local to one another, and I was just like, did you run Undertale at AGDQ 2017? Was that you?
Yep, that was me.
I was like, oh yeah, that explains why I followed you.
We have a comment from Moni Mendez J saying, Tej, come back to Undertale.
No.
Type exclamation mark Undertale in his chat, and it'll direct you to the next thing to do. Just yes, telling you that right now.
Yeah.
That was really harsh. It's like, yeah, please.
That was Chapter 2, by the way. Now, if you actually go to my chat and type exclamation point Undertale, it'll lead you to some good stuff. All right, so here we have 2B. By the way, these dream blocks, you just dash in one end of them, and then you come out the other end. It's pretty simple. You can actually jump twice out of them, though, which is what I'm doing here. That is, I believe, not an intended mechanic, but I don't really care.
It's one we use, for sure.
Yeah, you can also hyper dash out of them, but we don't really do them when we only have one dash to work with. We'll see that later. We'll see that more later. Oh yeah, look closely here. I'm actually going to dash straight through a dream block, or straight through a solid wall. Here we go.
Generally speaking,
and then die. Perfect.
Yeah, and then die. It's a beautiful set of inputs there. But these dream blocks, if you were to go into a wall at the other end of a dream block dash, you will die. That seems to not be the case there, and I think it's true in one other spot in either this stage or another one, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, so jumping twice out of that dream block there actually allows me to skip that dash crystal down below as well.
Yeah, so those crystals that you're seeing him pick up occasionally, if it hasn't been made clear, they restore your dash, and in this game, for most of it, you only get one dash, and you'll notice whether or not he has a dash based on the color of Madeline's hair. So if her hair is bright red, she has one dash. If her hair is blue, she is exhausted and has no dash left. And a little bit later, she'll get some cool new hair dye that'll give her a second dash.
I'm attempting something called a corner boost here to... There we go. Okay, there we go. Just skip all the switches in that room. That one's actually pretty precise. It's not that precise. It's just hard to pull off because of the situation.
There we go.
And spike jump.
Your spike jumps give me a heart attack.
Marb_L says, question to TGH, do you have a favorite animal?
Favorite animal? I love dogs. I'm a huge dog person.
Do you have a dog?
I don't currently.
So you're a fake dog lover.
Jeez.
All right, Amber, what about you? Do you have a favorite animal?
I actually love cats. I like dogs as well, but I highly prefer cats due to the fact that they are much quieter and much lower maintenance, honestly.
Do you have a cat?
I do, actually. His name is Nittens.
Real cat lover, fake dog lover. Got it.
I mean, whatever you say. Whatever you say. By the way, that was 2B. We're moving now into 3A, which is the bane of a lot of casual players.
It's the bane of my existence because it takes place in a hotel, and I work hotels for a living. So I really, really feel for the NPC that we're going to meet here in this chapter. His name is Mr. Oshiro. He is the keeper of this rundown resort. And I don't know, Teach, would you want to stay at this resort?
Probably not.
I mean, we've got these demonic dust bunnies floating about. They're all on cycles. What a cycle is in a platforming game is there's two different cycles. When he enters a room, the dust bunnies that are moving back and forth move at a set rate and set locations, and when he enters the room, it'll always be the same. If he dies, there is a slight delay in how long it takes for him to respawn, and we call that the death cycle because the dust bunnies are already moving before he gets a chance to move out of respawning from dying. And it is actually pretty useful to learn both the on-entry cycle and the death cycle. It makes this level a lot more tolerable, especially for newer runners.
Pretty useful is actually a huge understatement. It's actually like pretty imperative to learn both cycles.
We have another question for you.
Sure.
Do you like strawberries?
I do like strawberries.
Is
not
it your favorite
NARB,
fruit?
but I do like strawberries.
Oh, it's not your favorite. All right. All right.
No, but I actually really like I like strawberries as well as the all red berry speedrun, which so strawberries are the collectibles in this game, and ARB, or all red berries as we call it, is one of the most challenging categories for sure.
It has 175 of those berries to collect.
Yes.
The Real Oil says, TGH, what is your favorite dog?
My favorite dog, a golden retriever.
That is a very typical answer.
Used to own one. Oh, okay, all right.
Wasn't your golden retriever named Blue? Was that Blue?
Don't blink.
Oh, yeah.
All right, we dashed straight through some dust bunnies there. What that was, that's called a demo dash. And I'll explain more about that when the time comes in 3B, because we're going to see another more difficult one in 3B. That one's actually pretty easy to set up, but it is pixel perfect.
I can also explain what a demo dash is as well.
Sure.
So these dust bunnies, when they're set up in clusters that aren't moving like that, they all have a set distance between each other. They are not actually one conglomerative blob, as they may seem. So a demo dash is more or less you're crouching in the middle of your dash, which reduces Madeline's size. Like this game is in a pixel art format, so like everything's drawn in pixels. Madeline has a set height of like what, 4 or 5?
During demo dashes?
No, normally.
Oh, 7, I think.
7, okay. So a demo dash reduces her height from 7 pixels tall to what, 4?
4, yes.
Yeah, to 4. And what a demo dash does is it lets us get through exactly 4 pixel windows like that. And that's what's happening with those dust bunnies. They look like they're together, but they're actually like 4 pixels apart in certain spots.
Yep, I actually pulled off a trick to get the heart in this level as well. I actually skipped talking to Oshiro once you're supposed to talk to Oshiro to like unlock the branches of Huge Mess there. And what I actually did instead was I kind of exploited the lack of a proper spawn point for that room when you enter from below. So there's another instance of that later as well, which I'll explain when we get there too. But all you need to know is that it wasn't exactly intended behavior to do that.
Oh, you don't do the demo dash here, do you?
No, not in 3A.
I completely forgot about that. Because we do this. We gotta go to the cassette.
Yep. Alright, so there's a 3B cassette. Now all that's left is just to finish 3B. 3A, excuse me. Not 3B. Whoops. Oh, come on. Cycles. There we go. It's actually faster to leave the room the way you came instead of taking that intended shortcut up there.
We have a question for you.
Hi, I'm just wondering how the release of Chapter 9 is going to affect your runs.
It will affect... Wow, I believe it will affect all chapters 100%. It will not affect ARB or any percent.
Yeah, from what we understand, there's no planned red berries in Chapter 9.
Yes.
But of course it will, so actually what's happening here in this sequence, that's still Mr. Oshiro, the friendly ghost that we haven't really spoken to very much. There is, and you saw it in Chapter 2, you saw these like Madeline copies following Madeline around. That's her, in a sense, her evil alter ego that's brought out by the Mountain of Celeste. And we call her Badeline because she's a bad Madeline. And she insulted Mr. Oshiro and the resort that he stands for, and he didn't take too kindly to that, so now he wants us dead. And occasionally we will bounce off his head here and there, especially in the B-side, so we'll see a little more of that, telling him to sit down and maybe have a Red Bull, maybe relax a little. But he is not happy with us right now.
Yep, so that is 3A.
Shout out to that, by the way. Like, Resort is not an easy chapter casually. It's actually where the first difficulty spike in the game happens.
Yeah, it's a huge difficulty spike, too, from casual. Especially because, like, Chapter 1 and 2A are, like, relatively easy. And then you have 3A, and it's just, like, if it throws a bunch at you that you're definitely not prepared for as a casual player. That was not. Let me try that again.
So how many times do you think TGH is going to bang Madeline's head into the wall with a dash?
A bunch.
I'd say at least.
Oh, yeah, watch this. We're going under here.
Oh, man.
There we go. Nice little wall kick from underneath. We have a spike jump here. Skip that cycle.
One thing that we haven't talked about is that Madeline has stamina. And you can tell, like, if she's climbing a wall or if he's doing, like, wall jumps, like, to climb a wall faster. That's consuming this unseen stamina, and it actually doesn't make itself known until she starts flashing red. So if she starts flashing red, it means that he can't just hold onto a wall to, like, maybe he needs to ground himself for some reason or set up for something. If he's gonna be flashing red because he's out of stamina, he'll start sliding down very casually to his death. And I've actually drawn a piece of fan art from something like that happening.
That's very good art. Amber's a very good artist as well.
It's a hobby.
Alright, so there's a certain cycle I'm looking for in this room. Okay. Oh, nope, I didn't get it.
That's certainly not a cycle I'd be looking for in any room.
Yeah, I was trying for another wall jump off the corner there, and I didn't quite get it. Alright, good. Okay. Alright, so here we come to Oshiro 2.0. There's a little piece of ground.
Salt.
There's a little piece of... Wow, okay.
A little piece of wow.
There's a little piece of ground that I'm, wow, eventually going to land on. Right there. Yeah, I had to land on Oshiro anyway. Okay. That was definitely not intended, but I'll take it.
Sit down.
All right, so coming up, I'm gonna try a demo dash here that has 0 setup and is pixel perfect. So let's see if I can get it in order to get this part. We'll use Oshiro again there.
I'm sure he doesn't mind. He'll only just try to kill you again.
All right, here we go.
Oh.
Not quite. I was a little low. I was actually quite a few pixels low. There we go. Nice.
Second try demo dash is actually very good.
Yep. So basically, what I'm doing to do that is there are a couple different ways to demo dash, but the easiest way is to I'm using a program because I'm using a DualShock 4 controller, and what I do is I map a button because it doesn't really run natively on Windows for some reason. So what I need to do is actually have a controller program that remaps the inputs to like an Xbox 360's inputs. And what that does is allows me to bind a button on my controller to a button on my keyboard. And because of because of key priority or something, I can actually just hold a button and do the demo dash. And it's really nice and very very convenient.
So this is Chapter 4. This is the Golden Ridge, and it introduces our new worst enemy, Wind.
Yes.
If anyone has ever played Super Mario Bros. 2, either on the SNES through the... my brain is like flaking.
All-Stars?
All-Stars, thank you. Oh my goodness. And then, or through the original Famicom version. Wind is not friendly, but our dash actually ignores any sort of change to our momentum.
Wow.
So when we are dashing, the wind cannot affect our speed whatsoever, no matter what direction the wind is blowing.
We have a comment from Content 808 saying, Pooh is standing next to me. I just called out whoever's standing next to Pooh. Yeah!
All right, so coming up, I'm going to personally shout out GrandPooBear. And I'm sorry for what I'm about to do, but we're about to ignore Super Mario Bros. 3. So
what a
right
great
here,
game.
yeah, see this white block? You're supposed to duck under that and use it, but we're not going to. Instead, we're going to spend several tries getting this. This is a pretty precise wall bounce into a wall kick, and I'm having trouble with it. You got to be like several pixels off this wall. Oh wow!
Oh.
I wasn't expecting it. There we go.
There it is.
So that saves 3 seconds if you get it right, and I'm sorry, Pooh Bear, my bad. Except that I meant to do it.
You lost more than 3 seconds
would-
just insulting
I would
Super
say-
Mario Bros. 3.
I would say I didn't mean it, but I definitely did. Okay, so I'm going to try this as well. You can skip this auto-scroller.
It's actually relatively new, too.
Yes, this is very new. Okay, that was weird.
It was found, like, what, maybe 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, even less than that.
Yeah, less than 2 weeks ago, found by Bubbai. Another runner of this game.
That was a frame rate. You have a 2-pixel
Yeah.
window for this dash. I'm sorry, 2-frame window. I'm like a frame late every time.
And for the non-frame-friendly crowd, frames are...
There we go.
A frame rate is what the game runs in. Most of it is like 60 frames per second, and there are 60 frames in a second. So he has like, if it's a 2-frame window, he has 2/60ths of a second to be able to pull that off.
See how long I keep this vary for.
So TGH, I have a question for you.
Sure.
Celeste is arguably one of like the games that you're definitely the most known for. What encouraged you to pick up the game in the first place?
Well, I just played the game and I loved it. I think Pooh Bear said something earlier about how like he really only speedruns the games that like he finds really fun in like a casual playthrough, and like he wants to like extend that sort of extend the like replayability of that game. And like honestly, Celeste was that game for me, and I love that so much, and I wanted to speedrun it, and then got competitive at it, and just like here we are today.
So if you could only speedrun one game for the rest of your life, would it be this game?
I don't know about that. I mean, like honestly, it's hard to say because like this game has been like more versatile. I guess more versatile, more like multi-layered than any game I've played. Like despite it having 0 RNG. Just because like there's so much you can do, there's so many ways to improve a room, and it's still like everything's still getting improved as well. Using the snowballs there to advance.
Like I recall during Tofu's run, when he got when he purposely got bullied by the bully into the end of a stage, he said that saves like maybe 0.2 of a second. That's a lot to Celeste these days.
Yes.
Like minuscule, like fractions of a second being saved in a new room is actually revolutionary to Celeste runners. Whereas like you sit there and say like, oh, this saves a second. We're like, what? That's possible in this game now?
All right, so here is best B-side music. 4B.
I disagree. This is actually my least favorite B-side music, but it's still, like, there is no bad music in this game, but this is definitely like the low end of the spectrum for me.
All right, I'm definitely about to ruin this music by talking over it, but I asked Pooh for permission, and he said I can do whatever I want, so I will say that this game, Celeste, will be free on the Epic Store in about 5 days or so. So if you guys haven't played this game, that's actually a good opportunity to pick it up.
For sure, it really is.
Yeah, this game, a lot of people recommended it to me since it came out back in early 2018 for a casual playthrough. Like, oh, you'll love the platforming and all that stuff. Not a soul recommended it to me for the story except for him, and I will personally recommend this game to everyone. It may look really difficult. It's not as difficult as he makes it seem. That isn't to say it's easy, but it also has like really cool accessibility options where you can like deliberately give yourself more dashes or maybe make Madeline invincible if you need to. So it makes it a lot easier to actually just experience it. And it has a fantastic story, and that really touched base with me because it centers around a lot about coping with mental health like depression and anxiety. And it may not look like it just from seeing the gameplay, but I promise you it does, and it is incredibly touching, and I recommend it to anyone. Honestly, it really hit all the right notes for me as a casual player.
All right, so coming up, this is basically there are a lot of auto strollers in 4B, but like all of them have some kind of like thing to them. Like this room right here has a way for you to sort of like speed up the ending a little bit, and I'm gonna try it. And I got it. Nice.
Nice.
So yeah, so that's a reverse hyperdash, and that's pretty tight to get. There's actually a newer, easier strat for that room, but I don't know it yet.
So we haven't talked about what hyperdashes are, and they're one of your most common forms of movement. So what a hyperdash is it's essentially you're dashing and then jumping to preserve that momentum, correct?
Yes.
And
when you're crouching.
While you're crouching, that's right.
Yeah, when you're not crouching, there's something completely different. I'm gonna reset this room.
Yep. So if you dash like diagonal down and you jump at the end of that, you jump way farther than you normally would, and we use that a lot in this run. And if we call extended hyper dashes are another very important thing. You might notice if he jumps off after dashing, Madeline's hair will actually turn back to red, and he'll get his dash back. That's an example of an extended hyper. We delay our jump off the ground just enough to be able to regain our dash, but still maintain all of our momentum, or as much of it as possible.
We have a comment from Moni Mendez J saying, can we get a shout out to Amber for all the amazing commentary she's doing?
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that, honestly.
Oh, that's whatever.
So you get to see the effects of the wind for a moment or two before we dash through it some more.
Would have been nice to get that cycle skip there, but whatever. It's not easy to get, at least not consistently, for sure. All right.
So no 4B, or was that 4? That was 4B. Oh my goodness. The levels are blurring together. So this is the Mirror Temple, and this is probably, I've dabbled a little bit in running this game. This is on the list of the question that was going around of games that you would like to speedrun but are either too intimidated by, or you don't have the time to, or you think it's a little too hard. This is one of those games where it just like, I want to speedrun it, but it also like, I just don't have the time working a full-time job doing that. And I like doing commentary more, so I just throw myself into my commentary instead. But
this game looks super, super precise.
Yes and no. I think it's very accessible to learn. It is very difficult to master. It's one of those kind of runs. Yeet!
Yeet!
That's a full yeet right there.
We actually do that twice.
Where we just kind of yeet Madeline from one point to another.
All chapters and all hearts, I think, are the only two categories where you actually do that trick twice, because it's slightly faster after you get this this cassette that I'm about to get right here. It's slightly faster to return to map and get the yeet again.
Is that also true in real time?
Alright, so there's our cassette.
Has the best B-side music. Just saying.
Alright, so we're going to return to map, and that's going to bring us back to depths right here. I'm going to do this trick again. By the way, you can abuse your Y position there, because the game sets your Y position during the cutscenes.
So your vertical position.
Yeah, and there's double
yeet! I will only ever say that for this event. I sound ridiculous saying yeet.
I mean, so do I.
You have the bass in your voice for it, though. I don't.
Alright, so now we're getting the key over here, which is going to allow us to get the heart. And there's a section here where you're actually, you supposedly need to use the key, but there's a shortcut here, right there, and I missed it. Yeah, so crouching in this game has some weird properties, including the demo dash, but that's basically a trick. So what you do is you crouch and you jump into that bubble, and for whatever reason, that raises the bubble up a couple pixels and makes that just barely possible. So what you're supposed to do is go all the way around and take the bubbles up. But right now I'm going to try skipping basically this entire room by doing that.
There we go. That went much better.
Yeah. So that was a nice little corner jump off of a pretty specific point on the wall there. And we're going to finish the rest of the 5A. Whoops.
And bang Madeline's head into the wall a few more times?
Yes.
By the end of this run, I think Madeline might need to go to the hospital.
I mean, she already seems quite concussed by some of my movements right here. Alright, so in quite a, honestly, quite a genius display of game design here. Shoutouts to Matt Thorson and Noel Berry, by the way, and the rest of the Matt Makes Games for making this game. So you take control of the Seeker there, and that serves the purpose of basically letting you know what the Seeker does in this level. Basically, it tries to kill you. So we're going to come across our first Seeker in this next screen right here. Not this screen, my bad.
We have a question from an anonymous asker whose name may or may not be Chris, saying, hey guys, how do you find out the tech for games like this?
Lots of strat finding. By the way, this guy, funny enough, doesn't even see you.
It can be a mixture of like fooling around in a screen, like asking the question, can this be done any faster? And using like the movement tech that we know to experiment with like the possibilities in a room. There's also a tool-assisted speedrun community for this game. Shoutouts to people like Fish McMuffins, Uni, and a few others who put together what we call tool-assisted speedruns for this game. And one of them was actually recently showcased at Summer Games Done Quick 2019. I'm a year in the past, guys. Another one was also showcased at SGDQ 2018, though, for the any %. But
yep.
What a tool-assisted speedrun is, for those who don't know, is it is essentially like if a human could operate as perfectly as a robot could, how fast could this game be? And for example, what's the difference between the task for any % and the current world record?
It's about 5 minutes.
Yeah, just like if a robot, if he were a robot, and he certainly is not, if this has demonstrated anything, this game could be 5 minutes faster than the 27:31 that you have now, which he got like what, 2 days before we flew out?
I think it was, yeah.
Yeah.
Alright, so now we have Theo. So the trick with Theo, or the problem with Theo, carrying Theo around, is you can't actually dash while you're carrying him. So we need to, we need to provide our own momentum and then like pick him up and do whatever.
Oh, we never introduced Theo as a character. He is he's a guy who decided to travel from, I think, Colorado?
Seattle.
Oh, Seattle, right. He's traveling from Seattle to kind of like do some soul searching. He likes Instagram. He actually has an Instagram account. You can follow it. I'm not even kidding. And
Theo under stars.
Yes. And he runs into Madeline, and they're just kind of doing their own version of soul searching in the story. And he walks into the Mirror Temple because he thinks it's going to be a great photo op. Now, imagine having a photo op while inside that crystal. It's not going to work very well.
Probably got a lot of good pictures in there.
Oh, I'm sure. It looks like Selfie City right in there.
All right, so that's
user-
5A.
User at Maki Maki says, have you tried Hawaiian shaved ice yet?
Shaved
No,
ice?
that sounds
No.
delicious.
That does sound good, though.
All right, how about tomorrow? After all this is done, we can go get some shave ice to celebrate.
That sounds great.
Yes.
Let's go.
All right.
Absolutely.
I don't know where Pooh is. Pooh, we're gonna go get shave ice tomorrow. Where's Tofu? We're getting shave ice tomorrow.
All right, so 5B, fun fact, we actually do 5B in any percent.
Yes.
Or the top runners do 5B in any percent because it saves about 25 to 30 seconds. And it's only getting more and more optimized as well, so it's saving more and more.
It also has the best B-side music in the game. Get
Yeah.
at me.
And the reason why I mentioned back in Chapter 3 about how like the game doesn't have certain designated spawn points to reset you. Here's an instance right here. So that's called Bub's Drop, found by the actual tech was found by Bubba. The application there was found by Demo Jameson. Shoutouts to both those guys. I didn't quite get that.
Shoutouts to that bubble, just utterly ruining your life.
So you're not supposed to be entering the screen there from the top, like at all. So the devs never really foresaw a reason to put a designated spawn point in that room for that particular entry point. Why did I dash immediately there? Whatever. It's very hard to talk and play this at the same time.
That's what I'm here for. So what Bub's Drop basically does, like he mentioned, the devs didn't really foresee you entering that original room from the top by dropping down. And Bub's Drop is... what's the frame window on that? Is it
2 frames.
Two frames?
2 frames to let go of jump and 6 frames to press it initially.
Okay, so 2/60ths of a second, or 1/10, and then 1/10 of a second, if I'm not mistaken. There, I can math, I promise. And it lets us drop into that room, and when he deliberately goes into the pause menu to kill himself, the game doesn't know quite where Madeline should be, so it puts him at the right end of that room. That lets him progress by skipping an entire room, picking up a key to be able to take a bubble all the way somewhere, and yeah, it saves a lot of time, and that's actually why this ended up in the main category, or the main any percent run, over just doing the 5A chapter by itself.
Yeah, it's actually still faster without Bub's Drop.
Yeah, that's
Slightly,
actually true.
yeah.
It's slightly faster, but you still need to have a really good 5B for that.
Based on your conversation about TASs earlier, there is a poem from R. Combs saying, "Humans outdated, speedrunners overrated. Long have we awaited. TASBot activated."
TASBot is the name of a Rob robot. If anyone's familiar with those with the NES, we named it TASBot, and it just interfaces with consoles to be able to play back a tool-assisted speedrun on real hardware.
Yep. Shout out to
about it.
Dwingo. Shout out to Dwingo AC, who is the owner of TASBot.
Yes.
And ambassador of TAS Videos. All right, so here we have Chapter 6. I'm actually just going to do an any percent run of Chapter 6 because you can get the heart and tape in any order here. But here's something called Lake Skip. There we go. So that's a wall bounce off that wall. You have about 3 pixels to do that, and one of the pixels is actually frame perfect. So essentially you have a 2-pixel window to consistently get it.
And this is also the best 6. This 6A Reflections is the best A-side music. You can't tell me otherwise. This is also so to catch you all up on the story, and without spoilers, Madeline's going to be fighting herself, literally confronting herself, because we're going to see Battleline. Battleline plays a huge role in this chapter. This is sort of the climatic chapter for Madeline trying to cope with essentially her own inner demons.
Oh yeah.
Oh, shoutouts to Kevin,
Yes.
who was the lead sound design on this game. That is actually him making those noises, just sort of.
Yeah, there's a clip of him on Twitch, actually. He's literally dipping his head in a bucket of water and screaming into it. That's how he made the sound for these blocks. So we call them Kevin blocks.
Yeah, we call those Kevin blocks, and they're fantastic. And that clip is also fantastic because Kevin has a huge, magnificent beard. So just imagine a man with a really awesome beard just dipping his face into this metal bowl of water, blah, 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 intoing it, and like just coming out, he's just like drenched in water. Like that's what he does for a living.
I think the first thing he said after he did that too was, "This is my job.
Yes.
This is my career." All right, so top route here, actually, Chapter 6 has a lot of, like, intertwining paths that all end up in the same place. There are two different ways to go, I think, in, like, 5 different parts of Chapter 6. We take the top route in pretty much every single one of them. And the top route in that last part is significantly harder than the bottom route and only saves about half a second. There we go.
Also, those bumpers, they are the closest thing that you could say resembles RNG or luck in this run, because their animation, you just kind of wavers back and forth ever so slightly, and you have to, in certain cases, hit these bumpers in a very precise spot to get the knockback in the direction that you need to be able to progress in the fastest way possible. So if you catch it on just the right, or in this case, wrong spot, you're just going off in, like, La La Land. Probably to your death.
So this part right here, I think, like, pretty much embodies Celeste speedrunning. I love this right here. We call this battle and boost because it boosts you right into the battle and fight. Watch the speed we get here. Just right into her. So that's a hyper dash into a little bunny hop, which gives you extra momentum off that block.
Bunny hops are just very, very short jumps.
Yep. Usually with momentum beforehand to preserve that momentum, yeah.
You actually saw him do a lot of that in the very, very beginning of this run, where he was there's a collapsing bridge, and you just saw him kind of like bunny hopping across it, because that actually saves a little bit of time, because he didn't have his dash yet until after the prologue of this game.
Yeah, so the jumps in this game actually give you an inherent speed boost to the jump, and each jump in that prologue, fun fact, wow, I went too fast. Each jump in that prologue saves about 2 frames. But it really adds up because you can jump a lot. Yeah.
I just want to do a quick check for you guys. Amber, TGH, how are you guys doing? Are you thirsty? Do you want a Red Bull by any chance?
I need a water, personally.
You need water?
Yeah.
Right. TGH, how are you doing?
I'll have a Red Bull, sure.
All right. What flavor?
Give me a blueberry.
All right.
Get this man a blueberry.
I'm here taking orders. I'm here hosting. I'm here taking orders. I'm just
Thank you, Sumi.
walking around.
Blueberry to match Madeline's hair without a dash. Just to spite her. And you.
You had to. You had
Hi.
to, didn't you?
Oh yes.
Can I get a blueberry Red Bull, please, and a water?
Which one?
Can I get a blue Red Bull and some water?
And a water?
Yes,
Okay.
please.
That sounds utterly ridiculous. Can I get a blue Red
I'm
Bull?
a waitress now.
Are you having fun?
I
having
just
a lot of
realized the
fun.
iron.
Or like the coconut one that Tofu had. Can I get a white Red Bull? Like any color but red.
Oh, whoops. Now, the music is glitching out. This fight just got a lot more intense.
So what Madeline's out here to do is she's out here to say, you're not a mountain climber. You should just pack up and go home. You can't do this. What are you doing? You're making a fool of yourself. And Madeline's here to say, no, I absolutely can do this. And we need to work together. Or at first she says, I don't need you. And through this fight, like it's just like there's a revelation somewhere in this fight where she realizes, oh, maybe I do need you. And we'll see exactly why we need her a little later in the run, and it is actually coming up right now. So this game is also part RPG. We just leveled up. You'll notice that whenever he does stop dashing, you'll notice that Madeline has a new shade of hair. She got some cool pink hair dye, and this is the result of Madeline and Badeline working together. So you've accepted your inner demons. We're at full zen right here as we head straight for the summit. We're going to climb this mountain.
Well, not yet. We have to do 60
Oh,
first.
whatever, man. We're going to delay the inevitable.
All right, so I needed to pull out my
Handy-dandy
my
notebook.
pad with directions because my memory's awful and I can't memorize the code.
Do you need me to hold it at an angle?
No, that's fine.
Okay,
right
that's
there.
perfect.
Yeah,
All right.
Yep. Yeah, so I need to go back into the Hollows checkpoint, and I've decided this trick, by the way, that I'm about to do, I'm just going to keep trying until I get it, because it is
You gotta
really,
show off
really
the
impressive to
nonsense.
see.
All right,
Absolutely
I'm
show it
coming
off.
with your drink orders right now. I had to have someone else
Here we
hold
go.
the mic.
Yo!
That was it.
That is
Just got a
incredibly
lot of
hard to
speed there.
do.
All right, we have 1 blueberry.
I will grab that for
Oh,
him.
thank you so
and
much.
we have the water for Amber.
Thank you.
All right, so I'm going to input a weird, like, series of codes for the heart here.
I mean, I could pour it in his mouth, but I think that would mess up the multi-input code.
Wait, I want to see that. Can you pour it in his mouth?
We'd have to move your mic.
All right, there we go.
Move
yeah,
your
I'd have
mic.
to move my mic. Here, just-
Yeah.
Okay, that could have gone so much worse. Oh, I need to do 6B.
Yes, you do.
That's right, there's still a level we
I
need.
sat there and said, we're going to climb this mountain. You're as hype as I am to get to the summit. But no, this is 6B, also known as one of the most difficult chapters in the game. At least that's the general consensus. So
Yeah.
take what we saw in 6A with all the spikes and the feathers and the jump crystals and the battle and fight. Remove a lot of the floor or cover a lot of it in spikes, and you have 6B. And also, shout-outs to Matt Thorson, who made this game, for not making Chapter 6 underwater like he intended on doing so.
Yeah, I think in an interview he said once that some of the screens coming up in the descent part of Chapter 6 were actually meant to be in 6A.
Yeah.
And I think he's insane.
I think he's also
although
insane.
I'm really glad that he didn't include them, because that would have been awful.
Well, he
Oh.
wanted to make this an
What
underwater
am I
level,
doing?
and that would have been... Like, we were talking about favorite underwater levels. Chapter 6 would not have been one of them if it did end up with water in it.
Yeah, thankfully there's very little water in Celeste that you actually have to deal with, and actually water in this game in quite a few cases makes you go faster, because you can do something called water boosting. What water boosting is if you jump multiple times out of water, you can get a slight speed boost, and you'll see it actually coming up here in some of these screens.
These
some
screens were
diagonal
meant to be in
dashes.
6A. I would say no.
We have a question for TGH.
Sure.
Do you remember this run as one whole thing, or do you remember what to do on a room-by-room basis?
So I think it differs for a lot of people. For me, it's kind of one big thing, but it's made up of a lot of smaller parts. So I guess to answer your question, it's kind of both. But I think it all depends on how you practice. So if you practice speed games like with individual strats and stuff in mind, like if you do ILs, if you like run ILs exclusively and then like move on to any percent, or a run like this, it will you'll basically be like taking the smaller parts and trying your best to move them to one big part. Whereas like I'm the type of runner who like I'm not really an ILer like at all.
ILs are individual levels for context.
Yes. Yeah, so I like running full game runs pretty much exclusively. So I'm more of like seeing it as one big thing, personally.
Yeah, so like a lot of people, certain games are, I think, a little bit easier to learn as individual levels and then stringing them together. But there is something to be said. In a game like Celeste, we have a lot of what we call IL strats, which are strategies in the level that make you go really, really fast, but aren't really what we call safe. So they're very risky. You can die, you can lose a lot of time, and trying to string that together in a perfect full game run is just, it's not unrealistic, but it is certainly hard to say that, to put it that way.
And like getting back to like the way you practice, like I practice ILs, I practice individual levels all the time, but I do so using the strats that I know I'm going to be using in a full run.
Yeah.
And I think that's really important for muscle memory, especially if you do full game runs.
So would you say that, like right now what you're doing, would you consider this muscle memory? Because right now you're answering, listening to questions while fighting this boss.
I'm
and
not
this
usually
looks
this
really
good when I
complex.
talk and play at the same time.
Yeah, I'm not even gonna lie. I've
yeah.
seen him try to talk and play at the same time. It's like him with packaging. It just doesn't work.
Like the beginning of this level was kind of bad, but like everything since then has been clean, and honestly, like normally when I stream, I have a lot of problems like talking and playing at the same time, and I guess that's normal for a lot of people. I got a lot of speed here.
There's
no,
also
not
a
quite.
huge difference in environment. Like here, we've got this wonderful crowd who came out to see this.
All right,
Shout out
let's
to
see.
you. You all have been absolutely wonderful and super patient with us talking about this game at length. But like there's live events where like you can't reset, so like things are gonna go wrong. You have to expect that, and it's just you roll with the punches. Whereas like when you're doing real runs, trying to go for a new personal best, it's very, very different, and it's so easy to hyper focus and just not be able to function on anything other than the game. And I think Celeste is definitely one of those games for you on your own channel.
So here's a really long room that you really don't want to die at the very end of, and I probably just jinxed myself.
I hope you did, just so I can laugh at you.
Feel free to laugh at me if I die at the end of this, by the way. Just like do it on the mic.
We have a question for TGH.
Okay.
Has the Red Bull given you and by association Madeline wings?
You could say that probably. Oh, whoops.
Not there though.
Not there, yeah.
That's the polar opposite of wings.
So I guess the answer is no.
Well,
Yeah,
not at that particular moment.
You were kind of lying.
I think that means you need to pour more in his mouth. Wait, I want to see that again. Do it again.
I agree.
Yeah.
All right, here we go.
Hum when. You
How's
okay?
he, how's he going to say when?
Go.
He's drinking Red Bull.
Okay.
Okay.
They stopped the speed run
It's all about the
to
teamwork.
provide this.
All right.
quality
No,
content.
Now
I
we're
just- it
gonna
was not running. It's all
climb
good.
this mountain. Can I get some hype
Yeah,
up
let's
in
get
the
some hype
in the crowd?
Come on,
We're
let's
gonna
go.
finally conquer our fears, conquer our inner demons. We're gonna climb this mountain. So this level is called the Summit, and it is the kind of like your final test. What you have right here is we're gonna revisit portions or like portions inspired by everything we've seen up to this point, because in the story we got knocked all the way down to the very base of the mountain. We were almost at the top, and then Battleland knocked us down, and that's why we had Reflection. So this is kind of like the revisit to 6A. It's very, very, very short. And I forgot we have to go get these gems. I was like, what are you doing?
Yeah, so in 7A, in order to get the heart at the very end of the level, you actually need to get every gem in this level. So that was one of them right there, and they're all pretty well hidden.
So, to talk a little bit about the history of this game's existence, this was actually made in what we call a game jam, where it's like, 3 days you make a game, and it's like a very short game. And Matt Thorson made Celeste on what we call the Pico Pico.
Yeah, the Pico 8 system.
The Pico 8 system, and you can actually play that original version in this game. You can find it as a secret. And that is a speedrun by itself. Good.
Okay.
Yeah, nice save there.
Yeah, I don't know what that was. Sometimes I accidentally pause because I have pause set to my right bumper, and my hand like envelops the controller. So.
He's got big meaty hands.
Okay, let's just do this.
That'll work. But yeah, you'll see every time we change areas. So aesthetics. This is a shout out to 1A. So you'll have like the catapult platforms here that he completely ignores here, except for that one. We need that one.
No, we don't.
Well, sorta. We needed to get out of the way. And we're gonna move here into the 2A flashback here in 1,000 meters. And that meters aesthetic is actually a shout out to the original version of Celeste, where every new screen was a new height on the mountain that you were climbing.
Yeah, so I mentioned hyper dashing out of dream blocks. I'm doing that a lot, like especially there. I'm doing it actually not there. That was actually a bad example of a screen, but next screen actually we do it a lot. You have a few frames to actually hyper dash out of these, like that, like that, like that, like that. Actually hyper dash out of the bottom of them too, like that. There we go. That one's kind of dangerous because if you miss it either late or early, you actually just down dash right into the spikes, and it's kind of awkward.
Now we're gonna have a nice shout out to the resort, or My Worst Nightmare in 1500.
Oh, you know what? I forgot the
gem.
I forgot the gem. I was too busy talking about hyper dashing. I forgot about the gem. That happens. I mentioned muscle memory. I don't have great muscle memory right now for all chapters.
Yeah, he's been focusing a lot on any percent because that's his main category, and we're gonna pick up the cassette here for 7B.
Okay, that cycle skip was actually pretty nice, but I almost screwed it up. Alright, so here we go, back down. Yeah, don't worry about it. I can get that before I start 3000.
Yeah, so we can actually, at any point, we can go back into the map and restart the level from any known checkpoint. So like 500 meters, 1,000 meters, which is the one we have to go back to, and then here in 1,500. And he actually remembered the gem for this one.
Yeah, I remembered that one.
Imagine that.
Alright. Franker Z?
It's a dog.
It's shaped like a dog. They call it the Franker Z room.
I did not understand that for the longest time, and then
a lot of people didn't see the dog. I don't know how.
Yeah, and someone said, yeah, it's a dog. The head's all the way at the right.
I think I was the one who like initially noticed it.
You're the one who told me.
I'm like,
because
that's a
you're
dog.
the dog lover. You're the dog lover, right?
I mean,
He
fake
is.
dog lover,
You're the
apparently,
fake dog
according
lover.
to you.
I mean, you still like dogs. You're just fake a dog lover. That's all.
So we've returned to the Golden Ridge, and we're gonna go get the gem over here, I believe. Yeah, this is the way to the gem.
Yep. Yeah, and actually, right after we get this gem, we're going to return the map.
This is a good time to go get the gem in
exactly.
1000,
It's
I think.
about 3 seconds faster to just return the map there, and we're just going to use this opportunity to go get this.
And I'm actually really happy about this because I love the Dream Blocks. They feel so... This game feels fantastic to play. If anyone has ever played Super Mario Odyssey or any other game that they really like to feel the movement in, this is one of those games for me, and the Dream Blocks are a mechanic that just feels really, really good. Alright, here we go. Here's the thing he forgot. Memory of a goldfish, this man. I say that, but like, this is a man who runs pretty much every category, so I can't really fault you too much.
I think it's pretty unreal that, you know, he can do the speedrun, which is really, really hard, but at the same time, he can't open a Musubi package.
Yes.
Wait, I can what?
You can't open that package from earlier.
I mean, packaging is my arch nemesis.
It really is.
I can't stand it.
But you are a fantastic speedrunner, that's for sure.
Oh, you're way too kind.
We didn't really talk about those snowballs in the actual Golden Ridge. Also, we're gonna skip this auto-scroller. So there was an original skip for this using a extended hypers and other ridiculous stuff.
But now we just do it completely blockless.
Yeah, so we do it completely blockless. So now that's the auto-scroller skip.
It saves an arbitrary amount of time between 1 and 2 seconds.
Which, as we've
I'm
stated
kidding.
before... Well,
it depends on how well you do it.
Yeah, but... As we've said before, like, saving even a full second in this game now is absurd.
Yeah, it's like, this has gotten to the point where, like, somebody finds, like, a 0.1 second save, and we're all, like, holy crud. Like, it's gotten that optimized. It's still not completely optimized, obviously, but, like, you know, it's getting there.
So now we're moving into the return to the Mirror Temple, and it is, in my opinion, far less confusing this time around.
We're just gonna take this red bubble for a ride. Whee!
Really nice, long red bubble ride. I'm sure I almost called her Celeste. My God, I'm sure Madeline wasn't feeling any sort of nauseous just spinning around in that bubble there.
It's actually a really awkward room to die in, because if you die there, you actually have to return to the map to get back there, because it brings you back to the beginning of the room and you can't get to the end from the beginning.
So, believe it or not, that those wall jumps that he did there in that room looks symmetrical. It isn't. You can't do what he did to get that key to get that strawberry on the other side. And also, one thing that we should talk about is just like walls with spikes.
Oh yeah, here we go.
Yeah. Oh, and door skip. We're about to save 9 years here.
Yes, there we go. That saves 1 second.
That saves 9 years. What are you talking about? You told us back in 2018 that saves 9 years. Did you lie?
I didn't say anything about how much it saves.
This man over here lying to me right now.
Alright, so we're about to see the reason that we collected all the gems. It took us an extra try to get one of them, but on the second screen here, after we begin this initial climb, we're going to transition to the right instead of going straight up.
Normally, I would try to encourage all of you to count these flags numbered 30 through 1, counting down from 30, so that's 28, but we skip a number of them. So counting with Celeste is not a great way to teach your child how to count, because we go from, like, just to give an example, this will be incorrect, I promise. We go from, like, what, 14 to 10?
We skip a lot.
We skip a lot.
Yeah, we skip quite a few flags. Some are more risky than others.
And these flags, so the summit, this is the 3,000 meter point at the summit. We just skipped flag 24, for example, to go straight to 23. And we're skipping 22.
That one as well.
Like, we don't care about flag 22. There we go. These actually act as checkpoints, as he's going to demonstrate oh so timely for me. So normally in this game, if you haven't noticed, checkpoints are very, very plentiful. You can actually, if you die in a room, you respawn at the beginning of that room. So it actually makes the game very, very forgiving, despite being very trial and error heavy. And I love that about this game. It makes it much more approachable for a casual player. But these flags, there are no transitions in this, no real screen transitions in this levels, this section of the level. So that's why we have these flags in place, because otherwise trying to do this entire section deathless, it's a journey.
Yeah, it's quite difficult.
It can obviously be done. There's a whole point behind doing it deathless, not to spoil the achievements of this game, but yeah. Alright, that's flag 11. We're gonna skip flag 10 here. We're gonna flick flag 10.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to skip flag 9 as well. See how well it goes.
And
nice.
Yes.
Yeah, so that saves 0.2 seconds at the risk of losing about 15 if you die.
Yeah. It's
So,
a very
yeah.
heavy risk reward.
I don't normally go for that one anymore. I used to, but I've smartened up since then.
So we're at flag 4. So actually, one thing I should talk about, you can't really see it on stream, but he actually plays this game primarily with the D-pad of his PS4 controller. These feathers, he controls with the analog stick. He switches between D-pad for moving Madeline herself, and then the feathers actually have full 360 movement, whereas the rest of the game is 8-directional. And flag 1 strats, flag 1 strats. There we go.
That's
We climbed
7A.
that mountain.
So that's where the any percent run would end, but this is not any percent. This
No,
is
we
all
are showing
chapters.
you the
yeah,
whole
this run
game.
isn't even close to over. So we do have to finish the epilogue, though. That's the most important chapter. There we go.
That's a very
60
disappointing
60 deaths,
strawberry
not
pie.
bad. All right, so now we do 7B, which personally is my favorite level for speedrunning in this game. Like, bar none. This level is fantastic.
Also got like really groovy music.
Yeah.
Shoutouts to, again, Lena Rain, who made the main soundtrack, and this track. All the B-sides, except for this track in particular, were made by other guest artists. So if anyone's heard of the game FTL, Faster Than Light, Ben Prunty does the music for 2B. 2 Mello, who does the soundtrack for a game I speedrun called Squatbot. He does, like, my favorite 5B in this. Just shoutouts to the entire sound team behind this game. Shoutouts to the entire team behind this game. The devs have been nothing but wonderful to the community.
They're very speedrun friendly as well. Like they encourage speedruns and are speedrunners themselves as well. So they've been nothing but kind and friendly to the community.
I'm just like jamming out here. This is great music to walk to. Like, if I'm running late for work, I will put on 7B and just kind of speed walk my way to work.
Also great music to die endlessly to as a casual player
Yes.
at this level.
Like, I might mock you for dying endlessly in the middle of a run, but this music won't.
Nice. Cool looking part there. Just jumping back and forth is pretty satisfying, at least when it goes well.
So I got a question for you.
Sure.
How hype are you for Chapter 9?
I'm incredibly hype. I'm just really ready for it to get here.
Chapter 9, for those who don't know, is free DLC. Yes, you heard me, free. For the price of free $99, you can play Chapter 9 of Celeste, coming soon, trademark. And it is actually looking to be incredibly long. Like, apparently the devs refer to every, like, screen transition as an individual level, like, within the giant level that is the chapter. And it's supposed to be over 100 levels long. Has... The soundtrack for it's already out, or the preview for it is at least, I think, and pre-orders are out for that, and that, like, it just, like, I haven't listened to it, we haven't listened to it because we don't want to spoil ourselves for it, but, like, I am super looking forward to it, and it's...
Yeah, me too.
Oh,
it's
man.
gonna be super hype.
They've been putting a lot of love and care into it. It was just supposed to be, like, a storyless level, and now they're like, yeah, we're gonna add a narrative to it, and, I guess we'll add this to it, how about that, and, you know, these mechanics here.
And for those people who didn't hear earlier, the game will be available for free on the Epic Store in like 5 days or so you can get the base game for free.
Yes, and if you own the game, you will, if you own the game for free, you get the DLC also anyways for free. So definitely recommend it. They keep saying it's coming soon. I would not be... I was actually hoping it would drop before this run, just so that it would be all chapters, but it's not.
Oh.
So we decided to give that snowball a hug. Those snowballs actually spawn on a set timer, I believe, and they zero in on Madeline's horizontal position, and they just kind of go straight towards her. Obviously, we move them off, move out of the way for them, but if you jump on them, kind of like what we did with those Shiro in Chapter 3, they restore your dash, which can be very, very important.
Abutu says only 2 tracks of the Chapter 9 OST are out, and they are both bangers.
Oh man. If the soundtrack hasn't convinced you to at least give this game, like, a look, I don't know what will.
Wow, okay.
That block told you to sit down.
I was like a couple of pixels too low there, maybe, at best. There we go, that's better.
Are you gonna settle for that level of disrespect from this segment of 7B?
Say that again?
Are you gonna settle for that level of disrespect from the Mirror Temple segment of 7B? Just told you to sit down. It's like, oh, you don't want that.
I guess we'll just have to make up for it by, you know, finishing the level. I mean, I don't know what else to do.
I mean...
I can't just disrespect the level back.
I mean, you can, just by, like, beating it. Like, you overcome it. You're gonna climb that mountain a second time.
That's not disrespecting the level, that's respecting it by completing it.
I don't know, if you corner jump and spike jump and wall spike jump enough...
This cloud is actually, like, pretty tough to get first try.
If anyone's ever played Super Mario Bros. 3, imagine those music note blocks, how you have to, the way you can get a high jump off of those. It's very similar with those clouds, but put bluntly, those clouds suck.
Yeah.
You can either get a really high jump, or you can get a really nerfed jump and just kind of die. And sometimes you have to intentionally do it, because you have to land on the cloud just to be able to get to the next part or restore your dash by landing on ground.
Alright, yeah, this part is very crucial I don't die. I'm just gonna say nothing for the rest of the level. How's that?
Timing.
It's very, very crucial that you do die for my amusement. And the amusement of everyone else.
It's really crucial that he doesn't die here, everyone.
Fingers crossed.
Ha!
Are you sure?
I mean, I can't even really gloat there.
So he was practicing this earlier, and in 7A, there's a conversation between Madeline and Madeline at every, like, major jump in height, so, like, 500 to 1,000, 1,000 to 1,500, and he deliberately skips that. That cutscene doesn't exist in all those segments for 7B, and I watched this man retry and have to do an entire room again because he killed himself thinking there was a cutscene there.
Yeah, 7B can get you that way, because if you've run 7A mainly, which I mainly do because I'm I'm like mainly at heart an 8% runner. Like you just kind of like expect, and you expect the cutscene to happen at the end of these sometimes. So
There's actually a cutscene here.
Yes, there is. That one I remembered. I'm actually going to try for a cycle skip here. This room is really scary. We're going to try to make it, well, equally as scary. In fact, if not more scary.
One thing we haven't talked about is that these switching blocks in every cassette room, they are tied to the music in the background, which is why we actually know what cycle they're on if we are able to tell what beat they're on.
Alright, I'm not going for the cycle skip anymore. There we go.
There we go. We climbed that mountain again. So not only are we going to climb the mountain, we're now going to enter the core of the mountain. So we're going to go inside the mountain, and things get a little funky in the side of the mountain here. First off, all those hearts that we collected is specifically to be able to progress and unlock this level, because it would otherwise, the buck stops here without 4 hearts. And you might notice earlier that normally when you land on solid ground or certain other like in-game objects, you restore your dash. Madeline's hair returns to either pink or red. That doesn't happen in the core. The core does not return your dash, even if you're standing on solid ground. It doesn't care. The only way you can restore your dash is either through these dash crystals or by transitioning screens.
Yeah, so there was a spot earlier where I was supposed to go like all the way around and turn everything to ice like I just did there in order to advance, and instead I just kind of like dashed in between some
Oh,
okay.
Okay.
Wow, that was close. I just dashed in between some in between some fireballs, which is intended, by the way.
Yeah, the core is kind of like your bonus level in a sense. Like, hey, you completed the game, you collected 4 hearts, that's cool. Enjoy everything you've known about this game with Madeline's dash just kind of like taken away from you.
Yeah, the game spent so much time like giving you new mechanics to learn, and then just like it actually spends an entire level based on taking one of those away from you, and it's actually kind of jarring casually, but once you get used to it, it's pretty fun, like trying to figure out where exactly you need to use your dashes, and it's kind of strategic. Alright, so I'm going to get a boosted wall bounce here off of this. There we go. Off the conveyor belt. Or conveyor wall.
There we go.
Alright, so we keep a dash there in order to skip that dash crystal as well.
The music to this stage is also really good as it progresses. So one thing that you don't notice until you actually play the game for yourself is that these tracks actually play in a progression based on how deep you are into the level. Like right here, it quiets down, picks right back up.
Yeah, that part is like a little psych. Like it makes you think you've completed the level, and then you break a wall on the right, and it's like, oh nope, we still got more to go.
Kind of like the summit of 7B, where you're like, oh yeah, this is the end of 7A. Why isn't the stage ending? It's like, well, if you go under the flag, it's like, hey, now you'll finish the level. Absolutely hypnotizing to watch. Like, if I ever, like, quiet down, I'm just, like, staring at this run because it is absolutely hypnotic.
Alright, so there's our cassette. The game forces the cassette on you in 8A. It actually is mandatory to bring us all the way across here. And I'm going to try a chain of ultra dashes at the end of the screen, and I don't think we even explained what ultra dashes are.
No, we did not.
Yeah, so I'll do it and then I'll explain it. Nice. Good.
The chat notices that there's somebody behind the turntables over there taking video. They said, who's sneaking around back there? He just gave me the peace sign. I mean, that doesn't really answer my question.
I'm scared.
That's fine.
You have a secret admirer.
I'm a little spooked right now.
He was filming TGH. I think he's a fan.
Okay, so ultra dashing is basically, so you've seen me do hyper dashing. You can extend, or what we call extend. Whoops, that's not how you're supposed to enter that screen. You can extend hyper dashes by separating your jump and dash inputs by a little bit, and what that does is it actually gives you your dash back midair. In order to ultra dash, what we need to do is immediately after extending. Oh, I forgot that cycle is different. Immediately after extending your hyper dash, you dash down diagonally like immediately, and it gives you a huge like boost in speed and chains the momentum instead of any other direction where it will actually like kill your momentum. Down diagonal dashes actually chain it.
Yeah, so you can actually go, if you watch a tool-assisted speedrun of just Chapter 2 of this game, you can see some incredible momentum chaining. It's not done through necessarily ultra dashes, but it is absurd how fast Madeline can get in this game.
Yeah, and a lot of it is not humanly doable either, unfortunately, like at least not yet.
They're looking. They're looking for a way. I'm sure they'll find something.
So that jump right there is actually weirdly precise. To get over those spikes without using a dash, we can use that dash, just skip that. Oh no, not quite.
I've never really said it out loud before, but I really do love the gimmick in Core that where you go and transform the stage from like an active volcano to a dormant ice cavern.
Yeah.
And I actually really love that. Turn like what was previously a hazard, which are these fireballs, into a slightly less hazardous but actually like interactable object that helps you. Which is the ice balls, where if you accidentally dash into the bottom half of them, you die, but you can jump off of them. Like so.
Yeah,
Like,
so you're not supposed to be able to do these rooms in ice mode.
oh,
You're
yeah.
not supposed to do them. I don't know if you're supposed to be able to do them, but it's intended to change to fire there, but we don't. This one too.
Yeah, the vast majority of this climb is supposed to be ahead of slowly rising lava. This is literally every movement mechanic block in the entire game,
Yeah,
I just
pretty much.
realized. Like dream blocks, conveyor blocks. The only thing that was missing were the dash conveyor blocks from Chapter 5, I think.
Oh, okay.
That thing was disrespectful.
I don't know what happened there. I just didn't boost far enough. There we go. That's what's supposed to happen. Yeah, so I actually I utilized the mechanic there where if you hit one of those bumpers and then you immediately hold the other direction, which is actually pretty, it sometimes is pretty hard to like switch directions that quickly and that drastically, but if you're able to do it, you can actually get like a double distance boost.
I just had a mild heart attack watching that.
Alright, so I'm going to try this here. You're supposed to do this room in fire as well, but instead, no, not quite. I'm going to do something called a corner boost, which I also don't think we've mentioned. There we go.
So corner boost, long story short, if you're dashing at a corner of a wall or a block and you hold grab and you jump off of it, you're essentially playing leapfrog with that corner. And you're just kind of like throwing yourself forward with more momentum. And that's what we call a corner boost. So you get a boost to speed, and you could do that off of spikes with corners with spikes as well, I think, right?
Yes.
Yeah, fantastic.
That's
8A.
8B.
Or 8B, yeah,
All right,
no.
we're not done yet.
We're not done yet.
So
we have all the
unlocked
C-sides.
the C-sides. So C-sides are 3 screens each, and the only thing I can really equate them to is like Kaizo Mario. So
Yeah.
let's see what we have here.
So I said at the very beginning of 1B that the B-sides were essentially take the original level, remove the floor, add a bunch of spikes and a bunch of hazards, and you have the B-sides. Make that, like, increase that difficulty, remove even more floor, add even more spikes, make him saltier, and you have the C-sides. There we go. But as he said, the seasides are 3 screens long, 2 short ones, and then 1 really long one. So dying in screen 3, especially at the end, is adding insult to injury there.
Yeah, so I'm going to explain what's happening here. So in the last screen here, you're actually supposed to, there are going to be coins like this you're supposed to get. Oh boy. There are going to be coins like this. I'm going to skip them and instead go for a 3-pixel window diagonal dash at the very end of the screen. And we call this keyless 2C. Okay, whoops. This is fine.
There we go. Everything's under control.
So right here. No, I was a little bit low. Try it again. There, that's how it's supposed to look. There we go.
There we go.
Yeah, so you're supposed to get the coins and move that block at the end up so that you can dash through the last dream block. By the way, we're coming up on the end of the run here, so and we have just the C slides left to go, 3 through 8C. So I'd really appreciate if we could just make some noise in the crowd. That would be really cool. Thank you guys so much. Thanks for coming out and for inviting me as well to be a part of this.
And shout-outs to PooBear asking if I was going to do commentary, because that was not planned at all. And I really appreciate you, man, telling me that I could join Teach for commentating, because I've never commentated Celeste. I know the run well enough to be able to do so, but by the way, Oshiro needs to sit down and have a Red Bull again.
Amber, I just want to say your commentary is awesome. I've learned so much about this game just from listening to you, so thank you.
That means a lot to me from you, honestly.
Yeah, for real. Like having a commentator as good as Amber is such a blessing for this type of game, because it's so intensive, and like I can talk and play at the same time, but like not really enough about like things that actually make sense. It's just like, you know, it's really hard to be coherent and play at the same time, which I'm demonstrating very well here, by the way. I'll get to the end of this level eventually.
You've also been a fabulous MC, like you always are. Every event you've ever MC'd that I've seen, like so pretty much any GDQ over the last few years, like fantastic at what you're doing. Like,
hey Amber, you're doing like kick ass on this commentary right now, and I'm super glad you could do it. Oh,
is that Pooh?
Yeah, I'm so glad you came out. Can we get a big round of applause for Amber right there? Yeah.
Yo, thank you. That means so much to me.
Fucking love this crowd, y'all. I fucking love you guys.
Y'all have been nothing but wonderful to us.
Wait, does that mean you might come back to Hawaii?
I think there's a strong chance we're gonna come back to Hawaii.
Oh, what am I doing?
Oh, absolutely. You have to.
And you know what? A lot of that was thanks to you guys, all of you guys in the room here who came out to this event and showed your support. You guys are the best. You guys made this event really awesome. Thank you so much.
Like, if I'm not mistaken, Pooh, you weren't expecting this kind of crowd, were you? Like, I remember just like, before we flew out, because I'm a person who, the reason why this game really rings a note with me, as I mentioned before, with like, it combats themes with like anxiety and depression. I have like really big social anxiety despite being in front of a crowd of like probably 100 people right now. And just like, he was like, yeah, it shouldn't be like more than maybe 20, 30 people. I was like, yeah, I can deal with that. And then it's like, yeah, so we got like 70 or like 100 or like, are you going to be okay? I'm like, sure, let's go. Like, and y'all have been nothing but friendly and wonderful. I love it out here in Hawaii. This is our first time out from the East Coast. So we did a 12 and 11 hours flight, respectively. And I'm coming off of an overnight shift in Massachusetts, so...
Oh my god.
Kevin, once again, out to disrespect you.
I'm actually going to try something that's going to look kind of impressive right here. No, I'm not. I'm not in a good position for it. Okay. This is fine. Don't worry about this.
Everything's under control. There we go.
There we go. All right, well, that didn't work. But there's a checkpoint right here, luckily, so...
Hey, Pooh, I have a question for you right now.
Yes.
The chat wants to know how lit you are.
Okay, so I'm known very well for getting a little too drunk at my own events, okay? And that has caused my runs to be less than stellar. But today, I've only had one drink so far before the run.
Wow. Oh,
Because I want to give Hawaii the best damn run I can.
Woo!
However, I'm going to have about 2 or 3 while I'm up there, so if it goes bad, just blame it on that. Baby.
Just
So
slowly
like, basically
degrades.
just gonna start really good and go downhill.
Not lit yet. Yeah.
We're also
He
gonna
said he's
climb.
not lit yet, chat.
We're also gonna climb this mountain a 3rd time as
so-
we enter the 3rd screen
So
here.
this is the pretty much the longest and hardest screen in the game. So once again, just make some noise for this part. I would appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my god.
All right. Gotta have your revenge.
I was actually surprised at that one.
If you ever wanted a maze of spikes and nothing but spikes in your game, Matt Thorson did.
There we go.
Can we make some noise for that? We're not quite done though.
Yep, one more level.
We're going back inside the core. So every heart we've collected up to this point in the game, all the A sides, all the B sides, and all the C sides up to this point amount to this moment here.
So that bird teaches you how to hyperdash.
Yeah, the very last level of the game that's completely optional. Hey, here's how you hyperdash. It's the main it's the main form of movement in the speedrun. Enjoy.
This is actually the only screen in the game where hyperdashing though is, or the only level where hyperdashing is actually
Mandatory.
yeah, it's mandatory.
Look at that momentum, my god.
Nope, nope.
You're
That
not
was
gonna make it.
weird. I got the dash, but not the momentum. That's better. There we go.
Definitely. The time is going to be coming up fairly soon.
Yep.
It's when he collects the heart. It's not when he collects the heart, but it's when the text from collecting the heart appears on the screen.
Yeah. Well, there's no text. It's just
Or
the,
like
it's
the
just
heart,
graphic,
yeah, the graphic of the golden heart.
As here, if I can nail these last few hyperdashes, we've got it. There we go.
And time. Give this man a follow. If you don't follow him, his Twitch is TGH_SR. The SR is totally senior, not speedrun, I promise. But yeah, seriously, thank you so much for having us. That was Celeste all chapters.
Yeah, and this game is phenomenal. The speedrun's phenomenal. Community's pretty good too. So thank you guys so much for having me out here to represent. And thank you guys for being such an awesome crowd.
Yes.
Thanks for making noise and being so active. You guys are awesome. Seriously.
All right,
That's it
guys,
for
make
me.
some
Thank you guys
noise
so
for
much.
TGH for his amazing Celeste run.
TGH, TGH, TGH. Don't forget your red.
All right, guys, we are going to get set up for the final run of the night, which is GrandPooBear's Mario Maker 2 really hard levels.